Hello, my name is Anna Armstrong and I'm a senior at Suffolk University. Today I'll be explaining a new skill, knitting, and how to make a basic knit stitch. This is for my class, Surviving the Zombie Apocalypse, where the focus is on learning a new skill and self-reliability. So knitting is using 2 needles and some yarn to create an object like a scarf or hat. The earliest evidence of knitting is from Egypt in the 3rd century, according to the website B is for Vintage. According to the same website, knitting became popular with nomadic groups since all you need are the needles and some fabric. This skill is vital for survival because you can create clothes with it. In a world where clothing stores and mass production of goods are no longer an option, you still need new clothes to replace the old ones. This is where knitting comes in handy. With just a few materials and 1 or 2 stitches under your belt, you can make a scarf that might be the difference between freezing and staying alive. In modern times, we have just about all of our clothes made for us. It's easy to pop into a store and buy a pre-made scarf or shirt for just $5. Sure, some of us may know how to knit or have relatives who do, but I can count on one hand how many pieces of clothing I own that are handmade. In a potential post-apocalyptic scenario, you will need to know how to make your own clothes, and fast. So here I am to tell you a little bit about the basics of knitting. The first step is to grab some needles. These are basic needles. Large wooden ones are good because then, to start with, because the yarn will not get stuck on it and you can make large stitches. Next up is the yarn. You can choose whatever color you like. I like this blue and it was on sale. It doesn't really matter what kind of yarn you choose, just make sure it doesn't fall apart too easily. Now the first step in knitting is casting on. So you take the string and make a loop like this. Pull the string that's not attached to the yarn behind it and then through, creating a hole. You can slip the needle through and then pull to tighten. So there you have your first stitch. Now, to finish casting on, you grab the string with your 4 fingers, loop your thumb around, push the needle underneath the loop that you have on your thumb, take the string that's attached to the rest of your yarn, and pull it up and over the top. Then, with your thumb, you might want to pull it tight first. You pull that up and over and pull to tighten. So there's your first stitch. Once again, 4 fingers, thumb behind, needle underneath, the string that's attached to the yarn, up and around, and then you use your thumb to push it up and over and tighten. So there you have it. You already have 3 stitches. I'll just cast on a few more so I can start my knit stitch. Now, when you're casting on, this will determine the width of your scarf, hat, whatever you're choosing to make. So if you want like a really long, really wide scarf, then you will cast on many times. But if you want just a skinny scarf, then you'll just cast on a few times. All right, so I've cast on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And as you can see, this is the beginning of the stitches. So you take this yarn that's attached to the ball. You want to give yourself some slack. Take the needle that you've been ignoring in your right hand. You push it underneath one of the stitches that you've already made. Get my fingers out. You may have to loosen it in case it's too tight. Push it through. Take the string that's still attached to the ball around the top of the right hand needle, and then you see it comes between the two. So you'll want it like that. Kind of push it off to the side, and then you take the right hand needle, you go over the line that's between the string that's between the 2 needles, hook it underneath, and then pull it off. You can tighten so it doesn't slip around. All right, one more time. take the needle in your right hand, push it under the stitch, string from the ball, up and around between the two. Take the right hand needle, go over and into the stitch, then take the stitch off. I'll do it a little faster. Take the right hand needle into the stitch, up and around, between, over, and off. Between, or into the stitch, up and around, between, over, and off. And then, once you've got the hang of it, you can start doing it a little faster. It's pretty easy to do this when you're not paying attention, like when you're watching TV, or if you're in class and you need something to do with your hands. And there you have it, your knit stitch. This is an example. And here is a scarf that I knitted using entirely the knit stitch. It's pretty long, very cozy, makes a good handmade gift. Alright, and that was how to cast on, how to start knitting, what kind of needles you should use, and how to make the knit stitch. Happy knitting! I wanted to mention a few of my sources as well. So V for Vintage I mentioned earlier, and I also learned to knit using the YouTube video Sheep and Stitch. Their videos specifically on how to cast on and how to do the knit stitch were very helpful.